Alright, so one of the first things I want to see Samsung improve actually is the fast charging on here. Samsung has not really touched it at all on here. So I believe like the Note 10 Plus had 45 watt fast charging, and they really haven't touched it. Now the 45 watt charging is decent, but like I said, if I've been dealing with a lot of these Xiaomi phones, and it comes with the 67 watt fast charging brick, which is really nice. We're never going to see that again with Samsung phones. But yeah, having that, those phones charge much faster. This phone going from like 5% and you plug it in, it takes about close to an hour to actually charge up to 100%. So I would like to see some improved charging speeds, because like when your phone's on like real low, like 10%, 15%, you got to go somewhere, you just plug it in, and with those Xiaomi phones, they just charge up so fast. So you can leave it in for like 20 minutes and get like 70% battery life. So that's why I'm saying, you know, I think Samsung needs to, you know, improve a little bit in that area, because it's kind of strange that they haven't touched the charging speeds at all. Now, Samsung did a fantastic job going from the S22 speakers to the S23 speakers. It was a big improvement. I think the S22 had some of the worst speakers Samsung ever put out. But from doing my comparison with the 15 Pro Max and the Pixel 8 Pro, I noticed it wasn't as loud as the 15 Pro Max, so I'm going to play it again at max volume. So I can feel the 15 Pro Max, it vibrates the desk a little bit more, so just a little bit louder. But one thing that I like about the S23 speakers is that it has a more crisp sound to it. And again, this could probably be, you could probably tune these, but I tried, but the bass is just not, it doesn't hit as hard as the iPhones. And it probably, like, you know, it's not a big deal, but yeah, it just feels like the iPhone does have a slightly fuller sound. Now, from what's really cool is that we've seen from these leaks that Samsung is redesigning the speaker grill, so we could possibly see a big speaker upgrade this year. You know, so that would be really nice to just get some more like louder speakers. You guys can see like this leak here. You guys can see Samsung, instead of the holes, from what we're seeing, it's going to be like a bigger type of grill. Now, I don't know if it's going to sound better, but it looks like they're redesigning the speaker, so hopefully they like improve on it and make it even louder. That would be really nice. Now, this is something that I'm expecting Samsung to do, so hopefully they do it, because from the S22 Ultra, they didn't upgrade the max nits for the screen brightness. So it was 1750 on the S22, and the S23 still had the same brightness. So we got phones like the Pixel 8 Pro with a crazy 2400 nits peak brightness. So when you take, and I know it's like, oh, is it really that noticeable? It is actually a little bit noticeable. So in direct sunlight, like if you're out at the park or something like that, the Pixel 8 Pro is definitely brighter. So I would love to see that, because the S23 pretty much has the best display out of all smartphones, especially when it comes to the design and everything. So hopefully, from the rumors that we're seeing, Samsung is gonna put a 2500 nits peak brightness in here, which would be pretty sweet, which would just make the screen just, you know, the ultimate display again when it comes to just, you know, pure specs and stuff like that. I saw some few comments about like, hopefully Samsung puts like a 4K screen. I don't know, I think it's kind of unnecessary, especially on this, you know, small display like this. The 1440p still looks crystal clear even when you like look up really close. It's such a high, you know, PPI and high resolution, so I don't really think that's necessary. But I think the higher, you know, the brightness is going to be great. And also, a lot of people have been saying, I've been seeing rumors about them bringing a under the display. I think that tech is way ahead. I think it'll be probably at least like 2 years until they get this camera to be able to have the quality to be able to replace this one, right? So that's something that I think is going to be years down. I think probably 3 years down the line, because it's got to take pictures just as good as this one, because it's a flagship phone. So yeah, so I don't think that's coming anytime, you know, soon. All right, the next one is, I would hope to see Samsung bring the SD card back. So the number one complaint I see with people really holding on to their older flagships like the Note 20 Ultra is because of the SD card support. And it's not a big issue for me because I don't download a lot of stuff, I don't record a lot of video. But if you do record a lot of, you know, content and you download a lot of stuff, games or whatever, I could see how you could run out of space pretty easy, because even if you get the base model of this, it's 256 gigabytes. It's a lot of money. Even for the base model, it's like $1,200. And speaking of the base model, they really need to get rid of the 8 gigabyte version. If you're going to spend $1,200 on a phone, you should definitely get 12 gigs of RAM. The base Pixel comes with 12 gigs of RAM as well too. So yeah, so just a side note, but SD card support, from what I noticed, is a big reason why a lot of people will hold on to their older flagships. And I think Samsung thinks that they are, you know, making a lot of money by, you know, trying to sell people up on gigabytes. But I think you would make even more money, you know, getting the people who have these older flagships to upgrade, right? So you would make more money because what is it, like an extra $100? So, you know, it's kind of an interesting business model, because it's designed to basically suck as much money as possible out the consumer. That's the only reason they even took the SD card out. But, you know, I would like to see that come back, and it can happen because Sony still puts SD cards in their latest flagship as well too. So it's not like something that can't happen. All right, so one of the next things that I would love to see with the S23 Ultra is actually more support for software. So I was very, very surprised that Google was able to do 7 years of OS updates for the Pixel 8 Pro, and I think that's pretty impressive. Now Samsung, right, they have a pretty impressive update, at least by Android standards. So with Galaxy phones you get 4 years, and I'll let you guys see the 4-year update pledge. So it happened in early 22. The company announced that it will offer 4 generations of One UI and Android OS upgrades and 5 years of security patches starting with the Galaxy S21 series and up. So that's pretty impressive. It was a phone that had the most, you know, updates, but now that Google has come out with 7 years of OS updates, I think that's pretty incredible. I think that's why a lot of people feel pressured to upgrade a lot of the times too, which I always say, like, just keep the phone until it stops working. Typically you're not going to get hacked, but a lot of people have like that FOMO of missing out on like the latest One UI updates and stuff like that. And honestly, if you pay attention, there's not a big difference from Android 12 to 14. So it's not like a massive difference. It takes I would honestly say like 4 or 5 years before you even notice major software improvements and stuff like that. Because if I took out a phone with Android 11, 12 running One UI, it's not like a huge difference. And lastly, I think I'm probably a minority in this, but I think Samsung should really go back to selling smaller versions of this phone, because, you know, I'm not like this phone is really big and boxy, and sometimes it can be a little bit uncomfortable to hold, especially for longer periods of time. And they used to make smaller versions, like you would have the Note 10 Plus, and then you would have just a regular smaller Note 10. And I was okay with that. Sometimes they would have like little spec differences and stuff like that, but honestly, it was not anything major, right? But yeah, I would love to see like a smaller version of this phone, but I think that's never gonna happen again for whatever reason. But everything else is pretty solid with this phone. So what do you guys think? What would you guys want to see with the next S23? I think as far as like the CPU goes, Samsung is always really improving in that area. Battery life is pretty good on this phone. For whatever reason, they're making the screen, for what I'm seeing, a completely flat display, which is something I don't like. I really like the curved look. I think it gives it a really premium look, but everyone's going to these flat displays now, which is fine. But yeah, so what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Catch you guys in the next one.